We are opening the sources today on a truly somber note. We're acknowledging the passing of a figure who, well, who really defined excellence across two demanding professional spheres in Canada.
Yeah.
The material before us really offers an exploration of the extraordinary life and achievements of Colleen Patricia Jones, a name that's just, synonymous with elite sport and trusted broadcast journalism.
It is a moment of deep national reflection, for sure. Colleen Jones passed away on November 25, 2025. She was 65, following a battle with cancer.
And the sense of loss, you can just feel it across the country, especially in her native Nova Scotia.
It's undeniable. And what the sources immediately emphasize is, well, the unprecedented nature of her career. It was a life lived on two parallel tracks, and both of them led right to the very pinnacle of success.
That dual legacy is exactly what we're going to analyze today. Our mission is to provide you, the listener, with a thorough discussion of the material we have, charting her record-breaking career on the ice and her, nearly 40 years as a trusted voice in media.
Right.
We're looking for the how, the why, and the lasting impact of her commitment.
And the recognition she earned really confirms the scale of that impact. I mean, she is globally recognized as the skip who led two women's world championship teams.
Right, and for anyone less familiar with curling, the skip is. They're the captain, the strategist.
They call the shots. They throw the last two most crucial stones of every end. And domestically, she claimed 6 Canadian women's championships, the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
6. That's an astounding figure.
It is, and it includes that unprecedented run of 4 consecutive national titles.
And the country really recognized that sheer, sustained dominance. In 2022, she was appointed to the Order of Canada. And 6 years before that, in 2016, she was inducted into Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, receiving the Order of Sport.
Absolutely. And the accolades, they stretch far beyond just curling. If we look at a 2018 ranking of Nova Scotia's 15 greatest athletes, she was placed second.
Second only to Sidney Crosby.
Only to Sidney Crosby. When you think about the whole spectrum of Canadian sport, that placement just confirms her status as a genuine sporting giant. She transcended the world of curling.
Let's unpack this monumental life by going back to the very beginning. So our first section focuses on her early ascent. We're talking the 1970s through 1989, how she found her place in the sport and, established that foundational dominance that would later define her.
Right.
Colleen Jones was born December 16, 1959 in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And the material suggests curling was less a choice and more a birthright.
It was certainly a family tradition, a community affair. The sources indicate she was just immersed in the sport early on, joining the famed Mayflower Curling Club at just 14 years old.
14, that's incredible.
And this wasn't just casual. This immersion saw her immediately finding competitive success, even skipping the St. Patrick's High School curling team. The key thing to understand is that she was thrown into high-stakes competition almost right away.
So that early exposure to leadership, to pressure, it really set the stage.
It absolutely did.
And her junior success was immediate and profound. She won 2 provincial women's championships in the juniors, first playing second.
Right, the second position, which is all about setting things up.
Exactly. That was in 1976. And then she came back the next year, 1977, skipping her own team to victory.
And those provincial wins, they naturally led to national appearances. The 76 Canadian Junior Women's Championship was a big learning curve. But by 77, her Nova Scotia team, with Jones skipping, posted a really strong 6-4 round-robin record.
Securing 4th place overall.
4th place. And the round-robin, for those who don't follow closely, it's that initial league play where everyone plays everyone. A good record there is key.
That experience paved the way for a transition to senior play that was just incredibly fast. In 1979, Jones, still skipping the Nova Scotia women's team, competed at the Canada Winter Games in Brandon.
And she reached the final, earned a silver medal after a tough loss to New Brunswick's Denise Levine.
But what's fascinating here is the sheer speed. The sources say just 2 days after winning that silver medal, she was competing at the 1979 McDonald Lassies, the senior national championship, at only 19 years old.
It's an immense physical and mental capacity for relentless competition. And that's where she got the first of her eventual 16 Nova Scotia women's curling championships, playing second on a rink skipped by Penny Larocque.
And the Larocque rink did exceptionally well at that national level. They finished the round robin tied for second with a strong 7-3 record.
But then they lost the subsequent tiebreaker match, which is that sudden death game to see who advances. Missing the playoffs that year had to be a disappointment, but it definitely established her presence.
So 1980 was a crucial pivot point. This is when she really embraced this skip position at the provincial level.
Yeah, she led her own team to her first provincial title as a skip, going undefeated in Nova Scotia. She carried that momentum right into the 1980 Canadian Ladies Curling Association Championship,
Where her team just dominated.
Dominated the round robin with an impressive 9-1 record that earned them a critical bye directly to the final.
And this is where we see the first major test of her mental game at that level. Despite being nearly perfect, she faltered in the final.
She lost the championship to Saskatchewan's Marge Mitchell, whose own round-robin record was only 6-4.
That must have been a crushing disappointment for such a young, dominant player. How do the sources help us interpret that psychology of losing after being so consistent?
Well, that moment really underscores the unique high-pressure dynamics of championship curling. You know, in a round-robin, consistency across 10 games is rewarded.
Right.
But in the final, it's one day, one game, nerves, ice conditions, a single missed shot. It's all amplified. The sources imply this was a harsh but invaluable lesson for Jones.
That dominance doesn't guarantee the trophy.
Exactly. It taught her that closing out a tournament required a specific ice-cold mental toughness that she would, eventually develop.
She had a small setback in 1981, getting eliminated in the zone playdowns, but she came back with ferocity in 1982. This year with a strong team, Kay Smith and her sisters, Monica and Barb, she cemented her status as a historic figure.
Indeed. She won her second provincial title as skip, and crucially became the youngest skip ever, at age 22, to win the national women's title, the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
And her 7-3 round-robin record resulted in this incredibly tight 5-way tie for first place heading into the playoffs.
It was a masterclass in clutch performance. She overcame Saskatchewan's Arlene Day and then definitively defeated Manitoba's Dot Rose in the final to claim the national title.
That victory was definitive. It established her reputation as a formidable leader under extreme pressure.
And winning the national title meant representing Canada at the '82 World Women's Curling Championship in Switzerland. She guided them to a solid 6-3 record, which put them in a 4-way tie for second.
But the pressure of the world stage was immense.
It was. They were eliminated after losing 2 critical tiebreaker games against Scotland and Norway. A tough ending internationally, but that national champion title at 22 years old was secure. It signaled her undeniable talent.
The sources then note a bit of a shift in the mid-career period, from 83 to 89. What was happening that seemed to slow her competitive momentum?
Well, the sources are clear that marriage and starting a family introduced a natural slowdown in her competitive curling.
Right.
But she certainly didn't disappear. She continued to make national appearances, demonstrating consistent high-level drive, even while balancing new priorities.
We see that resilience right away in 1984. After being eliminated from the 83 provincials, she came back the next year to beat her rival Virginia Jackson in the final of the Nova Scotia Hearts.
And that win sent her back to the '84 Scotties Tournament of Hearts in Charlottetown. Once again, she finished first in the round robin with a dominating 9-1 record.
But history repeated itself a little bit.
It did. She lost in the final again, this time to Manitoba's Connie LaLiberté rink. When you analyze her early career, this pattern of round-robin dominance followed by final game heartbreak is a crucial narrative thread.
Right. It shows she mastered every element of the game except maybe that final nerve test.
A lesson she would later overcome in a big way.
And the competitive landscape in Nova Scotia stayed fierce. In '86, she formed an intriguing partnership, joining forces with Penny Larocque, her main provincial rival.
Yeah, with Larocque throwing third stones. It suggests a willingness to put rivalry aside to form a stronger team. And that strategic alliance paid off instantly. They won the 1986 provincial championship.
But that success didn't translate nationally.
No, they went 5-6 at the '86 Scotties Tournament of Hearts and missed the playoffs. It just shows how difficult it is to build that instant chemistry at the national level.
And that partnership, the sources say, was brief. By '87, she was eliminated from the provincial championship. But that same season, she was competing on an even bigger stage, the Canadian Olympic Curling Trials.
Yes, curling was a demonstration sport back then, but the stakes were huge for athletes. Jones and her team put up a solid 4-3 round-robin record, but were ultimately eliminated in a tiebreaker loss to Pat Sanders.
Another extremely close call on the international front. Those tiebreakers really seemed to be the hurdle in that decade.
The margins were incredibly thin.
She managed to cap off the decade strongly, though, securing her 6th provincial title in 1989. Her team's performance at the '89 Scott Tournament of Hearts was impressive, a 7-2 round-robin record.
Which placed her in a five-way tie for second place.
And she narrowly missed the playoffs again, losing a tiebreaker. So the 1980s showed Jones as this consistent, high-performing curler, breaking records, but often facing those heartbreaking losses.
Exactly. And that chronic experience of falling just short is the necessary precursor to the strategic and physical changes that would lead to her unparalleled, dynasty-defining run in the next decade.
Moving into our second section, we're charting the truly dominant years, what we're calling the reign of the Jones rink, from 1989 to 2006. This period is just. It's defined by statistical achievement that is, in many ways, still unmatched.
It really is, and it begins with a brief, planned pause that speaks directly to her other career. Jones actually took the 1989-90 season off from competitive curling.
Right. Specifically to focus on her commitments with CBC.
For the 1990 Commonwealth Games, this is an early indication of her ability to manage this incredibly complex, dual career schedule.
And when she returned in 1991, she didn't just ease back in. She immediately hit a massive winning streak provincially.
She was back to her old form instantly, won her 7th provincial title, defeating Heather Rankin in the '91 Nova Scotia final. This really marked the beginning of her late career surge.
And a tremendous streak of provincial dominance. The next year, 1992, with a new lead, Sue Green, she won her 8th provincial title.
And crucially, the sources note she became the first skip to win back-to-back provincial titles since 1979, a record she had previously set herself.
Consistency was becoming her hallmark.
And that year, the team represented Nova Scotia on home ice in Halifax at the '92 Scott Tournament of Hearts. They finished 6-5, just missing the playoffs.
Then came the three-peat at the provincial level. In 1993, she won her 3rd straight provincial title.
And defeated Tracy Dobson in a remarkably short final. 9-0 in just 3 ends. That margin speaks to absolute control.
Yeah, that's just dominance. Her new team for '93, Heather Rankin, Kay Zink, and Marianne Arsenault, finished 6-5 at the Nationals that year.
And it's also worth noting, she was still competing in other disciplines. She won the 1993 Canadian Mixed Curling Championship, playing 3rd for a rink, skipped by her husband, Scott Saunders.
That versatility is just remarkable.
It really is. By 1994, Jones secured her astonishing 10th provincial title.
At the '94 Scott Tournament of Hearts, the team finished 4-7. But 1994 is historically significant for another reason, right?
Yes. This is when she took over the record for the most career Tournament of Hearts wins. She won her 67th game that year.
And she went on to build that total up to 152 career wins.
A massive record she held until Jennifer Jones eventually eclipsed it in 2021. The length of time she held that record, nearly 3 decades, is a testament to her longevity.
After a small pause in her provincial streak in '95, she quickly rebounded, winning her 11th and 12th provincial titles in '96 and '97. But the true world-beating lineup solidified around 1998.
This is where the famous Jones rink truly became a dynasty. Her core team, Colleen Jones, Kim Kelly, Marianne Way, who later became Arsenault, and Nancy Delahunt, they became one of the most effective units in curling history. Their chemistry was just flawless.
And in 1999, they won the Canadian curling title, the 2nd of her career.
Also winning the Canadian Mixed Championship again that year. Just incredible.
After a brief absence, they came back in 2001 to repeat as Canadian champions in Sudbury. And this national victory propelled them onto the world stage.
Where they achieved their first World Championship win in Lausanne, Switzerland. They were global leaders.
And the dominance just continued. 2002, they won the Canadian Championship again in Brandon.
Followed that up with another Canadian Championship in 2003 in Kitchener. This sequence was already historic, but the true pinnacle came in 2004.
Red Deer. The 2004 Scott Tournament of Hearts was monumental. By winning her 5th Canadian title as a skip, she set that critical record.
The record for most titles by a skip, yes. But more than that, she achieved something unparalleled. She became the first skip in history to win 4 straight national championships. 2001, 02, 03, and 04.
The four-peat. It's a measure of sustained excellence that's rarely been matched as any major Canadian sport.
To maintain that level of intensity and tactical precision year after year, especially when every other team is gunning for you, it's just exceptional.
And mirroring her 2001 success, the 2004 national title opened the door to the World Championship in Gevel,
where they went on to win their 2nd World Championship. I mean, 4 straight national titles, 2 world titles in 4 years. It's an almost unimaginable achievement.
The era, however, did begin to wind down. The 2005 Scott Tournament of Hearts narrative is particularly poignant. It shows the immense respect she commanded, even when the winning streak finally ended.
Her team, despite their historical dominance, finished the round robin at 6-5. They needed a tiebreaker.
And they lost it.
They lost that tiebreaker to Sandy Comeau of New Brunswick, which eliminated them. But the source details this beautiful, moving moment of recognition.
The standing ovation.
A standing ovation so profound it actually halted play in an adjacent game. That moment perfectly encapsulates the respect and admiration the curling community had for this team, for Jones, acknowledging their legacy even in defeat.
The final chapter for this specific team came in 2006. They were back in form at the Nationals, but were defeated in the semifinals by the emerging powerhouse Jennifer Jones.
And at the close of the 2006 season, this famously dominant team broke up.
She then played third for Kaysing for a season, before returning to skipping for the 2007-2008 season. But the sources indicate that at the end of that season, 2008, Jones retired from competitive curling for the first time. The legacy of that dynasty was already completely secure.
Section 3 now shifts our focus to the professional life she conducted simultaneously with her high-level competitive career.
Her nearly 4 decades as a broadcasting pillar. It's truly remarkable that she launched her media career almost at the exact same moment she started winning national titles.
That parallel start is absolutely key. The sources show she launched her radio career in sports at CHEM Radio in 1982.
The exact year she became the youngest national champion.
Exactly. This overlapping structure is the mechanism of her success. She didn't have a painful career transition later on. She integrated the two professions from the very start.
So her media role gave her immediate visibility and stability.
And her curling success gave her instant authority as a sports voice. It was a perfect synergy.
She made quick professional moves, transitioning to television at CTV in 1984, and then joining the CBC by 1986.
Which means for 2 decades, she was balancing the grueling travel and training schedule of a champion curler with the constant demands of daily television and news reports.
And her long tenure with the CBC is a defining part of her public persona. She retired in 2023 after almost 40 years.
And the sources pinpoint that, beginning in 1993, she took on this highly visible, cross-functional role as the weather presenter and sports reporter for CBC Morning News on CBC News World.
That's a unique and demanding dual role. Weather and general news require a broad, trusted appeal, which is quite distinct from the niche world of competitive sports.
It meant she was known and trusted by the Canadian public, who might not follow curling at all. Her face was a daily fixture, establishing her as a versatile, reliable journalist.
This versatility was her great advantage. She was relatable, whether covering a major storm or a national championship.
And when she did transition to sports commentary, she brought that broader, trusted media persona with her, which elevated the coverage. She could explain complex curling strategy in a way the average viewer could really understand.
We see that synergy repeatedly during the Winter Olympics. In 2006, at the Torino Olympics, she was doing CBC segments specifically on curling. She didn't just report scores, she provided the tactical insight of a champion.
And her voice was recognized internationally. For the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver, she served as a curling commentator for the American network NBC.
Which highlights the international acknowledgement of her knowledge and her talent for communication.
Proving she could articulate the nuances of curling to a broad North American audience.
Her Olympic involvement continued throughout her broadcasting career. Sideline reporter for curling at the 2014, 2018, and 2022 Winter Olympics.
That consistent, visible presence meant that even as the faces on the ice changed, she remained the authoritative and consistent voice for curling coverage on Canadian television.
It's truly incredible to think about the timeline. She won her first national title in '82, launched her media career that same year.
Won her last competitive World Senior Gold in 2017.
And was still reporting on the 2022 Olympics. The sources also note her involvement in digital content, co-hosting the online series That Curling Show with Devin Haru.
That willingness to adapt to new platforms, from radio to television to digital streaming, it just underscores her professional adaptability and relevance across nearly 4 decades in media.
She retired from the CBC on April 6, 2023, concluding an impressive 37-year run. To maintain a career of this length of visibility while simultaneously pursuing the demands of a high-performance athlete is truly rare.
Yeah.
We turn now to Section 4, which examines her later competitive returns, her senior success, and the lasting legacy she built. It proves that her competitive fire, it never truly went out.
It really didn't. The competitive spirit of Colleen Jones resurfaced dramatically in 2010. After being heavily involved in broadcasting the Vancouver Olympics that year, the sources indicate the experience clearly reignited a passion.
Right. On March 24, 2010, she announced she was returning to competitive curling,
with the explicit goal of qualifying for the 2014 Sochi Olympics.
She joined a team aiming for that goal, but just as this comeback was getting started, the sources detail a severe health crisis.
This is a critical and difficult moment in her biography. It highlights her vulnerability, but also her incredible resilience. Days before the playdowns for the Nova Scotia Scotties were set to begin, specifically on December 10, 2010, Jones was diagnosed with meningitis.
Which is a potentially life-threatening illness.
Absolutely. It immediately forced her to step away from the ice, turning over skipping duties.
A diagnosis of that severity just before a major competition. You'd expect a long, slow recovery. What does the material suggest about the speed of her return?
The recovery was startlingly swift. It's a testament to her tenacity. Despite the seriousness of the illness, she was able to return to competition quickly enough to win the 2011 Nova Scotia Senior Women's Championship on February 27th.
That timeline is incredible. Going from a life-threatening diagnosis to winning a provincial title in roughly 2.5 months.
It demonstrates an unparalleled level of mental and physical fortitude.
And following that illness, she continued her Olympic push. She focused on the senior ranks, winning back-to-back seniors championships in 2012.
And that senior team represented Nova Scotia at the Canadian Senior Curling Championships, where they earned a bronze medal. She could immediately regain competitive form.
The most exciting development, though, came for the 2012-2013 season. A true reunion with the heart of her dominant championship team.
Jones reunited with Marianne Arsenault and Kim Kelly, maintaining their goal of reaching the 2014 Winter Olympics.
This time, the roles were slightly different, which reflected a pragmatic, team-first approach. Jones threw second stones.
Right, stepping away from the strategic skip role, but acting as the rink's vice skip, or mate, with Arsenault skipping. Her willingness to adapt her position underscores that the desire to compete with her team superseded the need for personal leadership.
And the reunion was successful provincially. The Arsenault skip team won the 2013 Nova Scotia Scotties.
They qualified for the national championship in Kingston, and while they didn't reach the playoffs, finishing with a respectable 5-6 record, this competitive return at the national level with their old teammates, a decade after their initial reign and after her serious health setback, showed the synergy was still there.
And as she approached her later years, her dominance just shifted to the senior ranks, the over 50 category,
where she continued to excel. She appeared in 4 Canadian senior curling championships, earning bronze in 2012 and silver in 2015.
Her ultimate success in this category came in 2016. She won her first Canadian Seniors Championship,
which qualified her to represent Canada at the 2017 World Senior Curling Championships in Lethbridge, Alberta.
And just as in her prime, she exhibited complete dominance on the world stage.
Going through the entire 2017 World Senior Curling Championships undefeated, securing yet another world title in her late 50s.
And that team included Kim Kelly, Mary Sue Radford, and Nancy Delahunt. Familiar faces.
It really brought her career full circle.
Beyond the ice, the sources also give us insight into her personal life, noting her marriage to Scott Saunders and their 2 sons.
And the legacy she built is visibly carried through her family. One of her sons, Luke Saunders, is also an active curler who currently plays third on the Owen Purcell rink, which Jones had also coached.
So her influence transcended her own playing career.
Absolutely. Finally, let's just reinforce the immense acclaim she achieved. She's a member of both the Canadian Curling Hall of Fame and the Nova Scotia Sport Hall of Fame.
And in 2019, that TSN poll of broadcasters, reporters, and top curlers ranked her as the 3rd greatest Canadian woman curler in history.
And as we mentioned at the start, her lifetime contribution was recognized at the national level with her appointment to the Order of Canada in 2022. Her competitive life, from her teenage years to her senior world title, is just marked by consistency, resilience, and unparalleled achievement.
As we conclude this thorough analysis of the sources detailing Colleen Jones's life, we have to reflect on the totality of her impact. It wasn't just about winning titles. It was about building 2 full, demanding, and successful professional lives simultaneously.
That is the most salient point of her entire career. How rare is it for an athlete to achieve such unparalleled success? 6 national championships, 4 in a row, 2 world titles, and then, without skipping a beat, maintain an equally long and successful career as a major broadcaster for nearly 4 decades.
It speaks volumes about her drive, her adaptability, and her professional discipline.
It really does.
She managed the intense emotional pressures of sport, including the roller coaster of near misses, the physical recovery from a life-threatening illness, all while maintaining a highly visible career in national media.
She covered the news, presented the weather, and then traveled the world to commentate on the very sport she had mastered, even while she was still actively competing and coaching.
The sources map out a life that offers a powerful lesson to anyone navigating a public or professional change. Her career trajectory just defies the typical athlete narrative of having one act followed by a quiet retirement.
Exactly. Even after recovering from meningitis, she redefined her competitive goals, adjusted her role on the ice, and achieved World Senior Gold in 2017. Her life demonstrates the possibility of continuous contribution and professional reinvention.
She was still actively contributing and achieving success well into her 60s. It was a life defined by consistent, dual-track excellence.
It truly inspires you to consider the concept of continuous professional contribution in a public life. Jones demonstrated that when one competitive chapter slows down, you don't necessarily need to stop achieving.
You can just change the arena.
Or adjust your role, or commit fully to the simultaneous act you've been cultivating all along. Her life proved that talent and drive don't diminish, they simply change their focus.
A remarkable life, celebrated and deeply missed.
An extraordinary legacy in Canadian sport and media that will endure.
Thanks for listening.